Hey there, it's Aaron. In this video, I want to have a look at Photoreal AI image generation using Leonardo.ai and its Photoreal setting. And specifically what I want to do is compare these four different themes that they have: cinematic, creative, vibrant, and I guess the base setting is none. So I'm going to test this and demonstrate it for you using three different sort of subjects, compositions. The first is going to be a figure of some kind. The second is going to be something abstract, and then the third is going to be a landscape. So let's see what kind of photorealistic images we can generate. So without getting into any elaborate prompts, I'm just going to type something for a figure. We will say a handsome man aged 34 in modern clothing. Let's just do this. So we're going to try it first of all in the base setting of none. Here we have our gentleman. Let's inspect. So nice looking images. From a distance, I would say that it does have some realism to it. I think we'd have to get pretty far away from it though before it really would be identified as an actual photo. Let's zoom in a little bit more. So the thing that tends to happen with male figures is that I think it's because of the facial hair. Oftentimes it just becomes unrealistic looking, too textured. The hair here is quite symmetrical, which is a little bit unusual. And so the other images, this one, very nice, nice looking, great. So this is with the base setting of none. Let's go ahead and try with cinematic and see what this does. Comparing the two, what do we see? We can see that the cinematic has added some coloring on top. In terms of, does it make it look more real? In some ways, maybe just because of the lighting change. For example, I do feel like this image has some more realism to it than the one immediately below it, but it might just be a matter of choice, matter of taste, we'll say. So there we go. So that is with the cinematic. It sort of adds a sepia matte on top of everything. And let's try with creative. This is what the photoreal creative setting will often generate. It will generate a scene that features very bold colors, and often they are in the pinks, purples, and reds. So this is pretty common, pretty typical. I think that it definitely takes away from the realism. And let's just have a look at this fellow here. Zoom in on the face. I would say that this face is not nearly as photorealistic as the ones below it here. So let's just have another quick look. We had none. We had cinematic, and here is vibrant. So these might, or creative rather. So these might be useful in some applications, we'll say, but for the most part, they're somewhat abstract just because of the coloring. So let's go ahead and try it with vibrant. So what do we see with vibrant? I guess that the colors are more vivid looking, especially in the clothing. Let's compare again to our images below. So this, I guess, would be considered very plain, a lot of earth tones. Here, it's more of just a coloring, lighting change, we'll say, that added a little bit more vibrancy here. And then up top, we can see that the colors are just much more saturated, which, with the exception of the skin tones. So realism from a distance, I would say that the first, third, and fourth look quite real, with this guy perhaps winning. If we look at the facial hair, though, it does have a sort of drawn in look to it. Hair, a little bit more natural looking, but there's just something with these really heavy sections of hair that often happen with the AI images that make it look a little bit unnatural. Have to be filled with a lot of product, we would say. So those are the different results using a figure, and they do give you an idea of how the different settings stylize things. But why don't we try with something more abstract like the Mona Lisa eating a ham sandwich. Ham sandwich? Perfect. Sandwich. Perfect. Let's go ahead and generate this, and I guess we're starting with vibrant. Here we have the Mona Lisa eating a ham sandwich, and the AI has decided to put the Mona Lisa as well behind her, her portrait of her, so that we have an interesting effect. The hands are well done, I just want to point out. And yeah, she's having a great lunch, including a ham sandwich. Here we have her again. Another nice one, noting that the painting of some kind is behind her in all cases here. But in terms of photorealism, what would we say? I would say that this one, because of the lighting, it does have a realistic look to it. The sandwiches are sort of very symmetrical looking, I would say. But as far as the faces, this one as well is quite realistic looking. So I would take that as a winner. Let's zoom in a little bit. Not bad at all. I think it is quite realistic looking. But I would love to see how it's going to look here in the base setting of none. Let's compare this set to the first set. That is actually a really interesting and cool image. I like it a lot because it takes her sort of somewhat out of the picture and puts it into our generation here. The hands are more or less well formed and the face is great. So here, not a realistic face because it's very much taking the Mona Lisa's face from the painting. Here we have a more photo-like person and noting that maybe for the first time the Mona Lisa isn't figured in the background. Same thing here, I guess. And here we go. She's once again in the background. Realistic looking faces. I would say yes, that would pass. There's something unnatural though about all of them. Not quite photorealistic, I wouldn't say. So let's compare with the first set, which were our vibrant set. And we can see that in terms of the composition, it's definitely the same. And in terms of the coloring, yes, the vibrant does have more saturated colors. Great. So let's try it though in creative and see if we get something a little bit more abstract. Let's check out this creative set. So I would say that this face is more like the actual Mona Lisa's face than the one that they've put above her here. That is a realistic looking face to me. It kind of looks like a picture. This one, not so much, but again, it's sort of stylizing the face based on the actual picture face itself. And I think the same thing there. I like how it does the texturing on the painting. It's a little bit overdone, but it makes it look more natural in some ways. Love the chandelier up there as well. And so that is the difference with the creative. It sort of added more color pop in there and brought things to life a little bit. So out of that set, this one would be the most photorealistic to me. And we have one left, which is cinematic, and let's see what it does for our subject here. Here are the results, and let's zoom in immediately and check these out. That is a very realistic looking face to me. And the sandwich, she's quite proud of it, I would say. And we once again have the Mona in the background. Here we go. She wants to show us that it's definitely ham that she's eating. And we can see that the faces are very similar. So the face here looks painted. That is the most realistic face, I think, out of the whole bunch that we've generated. Mega sized sandwich that she's eating. Unfortunate that the Mona Lisa's painted face in the background is a little bit mangled there. And this one as well is somewhat real looking. So if we look at the overall styling of the images, comparing it to the creative that is below, we'll see that it does have very similar look to it, although with the cinematic, there does seem to be, again, that sort of sepia matte on top of things. Let's go and ahead and compare our four sets here. So really using the center set as the base because it was the nun. I do really like this image with the Mona Lisa coming out of the painting. I think that's super cool. So we had our nun vibrant, so we had more of a color pop happening there. Creative seems similar to the vibrant in terms of what it did. It just sort of brought in more color saturation. And then our cinematic set seemed to bring some realism, but I think that out of these, that is just a great image. So I'm going to call that the winner of the day for reasons other than photorealism. Let's try one more. Let's try a landscape. So we'll say a landscape featuring a futuristic city. And let's see what this does in, I'm actually just going to go ahead and generate a new one here in none. These are some great images that I think are in line with what I expected. Let's have a closer inspection here. Nice curves, lines, and lots of green space too. Fantastic. They all look very futuristic. They're all quite impressive. So let's try it now in Vibrant and see what it will look like. So I think that this emphasizes more than the other sets that we generated what the Vibrant seems to do when it comes to stylizing the images. So you can see how it adds in, as I may have mentioned before, lots of pinks, some purples, and some oranges, lots of orange here. In fact, let's have a closer inspection. Kind of neat. Losing it more with the vehicle than the city, but it's added a person each time. More futuristic vehicles. So it is interesting that it decided to include some vehicles and figures in this case. So here's our first set, very plain futuristic city. Here we have more of an intimate look at the futuristic city in a very multicolored kind of way. So let's try it here in creative and see what the outcome is going to be. So creative wanted to add more color to it, making it even more sort of pink, and it's decided to add some more floral elements to things, we'll say. So let's check this image out. I like this a lot. It does look like, unfortunately, like our subject is sort of placed on top of the other image in the background. Maybe the background image is too motion blurred or Gaussian, whatever. But it's a pretty cool image because I like how it features more of like a downtown action here. Futurism, a little bit, but these vehicles look more like today's vehicles. This one, it's a matter of taste, I guess, if you like pink cities or not. This image doesn't work for me for a few reasons, like what are they standing there and looking at exactly? And these vehicles don't look even current. So some hits and misses, but I think that that's a fantastic image right here. So cool. Let's try our last theme here, cinematic. So what cinematic has done, let's go back and look at our first set of images here. So we have a cityscape, futuristic, sort of plain looking, kind of vanilla. And we'll go up here. So cinematic has added some things. It seems to think that it makes the scene so much more psychologically deep if it adds this single lone character in the middle of the shot. It seems to be fond of doing that. Does it add anything to it? More cinematic? I guess because it makes it more of a movie scene, with these others just being backgrounds. And I think that they're quite nice looking. They are a little bit more interesting perhaps than these. And I don't think that it has added that sort of matte toning on top of things. It seems like it's just made things a little bit more creative. So there we go. Let's go back and compare here. So there again is the first set. Then we went with vibrant and had almost like a neon futuristic feel to things. Creative wanted to make things more pink and floral. And then cinematic wanted to add some movie touches like an actual character in the scene. So I think that that was a pretty interesting experiment. We've gone through the 4 different theme settings of none, vibrant, creative, and cinematic in 3 different types of images, a figure, an abstract, and then more of a landscape with some very impressive results. So I hope that you enjoyed the video. If you did, then like and subscribe because that's going to encourage me to make more of them. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, then like and subscribe because that's going to encourage me to make more of them. And with that, I will see you the next time.